Well, welcome everybody to the November 2013 Life Insurance Update Show right here on The Biz. My name is Eric Palmer. Thanks for joining us today. Now, what I want to do for November is I want to talk about life insurance products that have built-in living benefits, because in November, it is long-term care month. So right here for 2013, what we want to feature today are term insurance, final expense, and some index universal life insurance contracts that have these living benefits built into them. But first, let's talk about why these benefits exist in the first place and why it's so important to integrate them in life insurance sales as you're discussing these things with your clients. Now, currently, we see on average it's about a 3-year stay in a long-term care event. So on average, we're seeing people have these events or need these types of benefits for at a minimum 3 years. But we also find that it's extremely expensive on an annual basis to provide care. So this chart here that you're looking at on the screen is provided by one of our partners, Allianz Life. They put some data together, and what they found is that the average home health care is over $21,000 a year expense. If you kind of go down this list, you'll notice that something like a nursing home with a private room, $90,520 per year. So those are obviously extremely high as far as what the cost is going to be for that type of care. If you're not doing some additional planning, this money is going to be coming out of the retirement. It's going to be coming out of the benefits that you want to pass on to the family, and it's going to probably cause you to run out of money before you actually expire. So we have to make sure that we're telling our clients how expensive it truly is to have access to this type of care. And if you're somewhere in your 30s or 40s or maybe even your early 50s right now, this cost is obviously going to inflate by the time you get there. So make sure you're showing this type of stuff to your clients. Now let's quickly define what these 3 living benefits are before I jump into the products that I want to feature, okay? First and foremost, we have terminal illness. That's determined when somebody is certified by a licensed physician as having a terminal illness and they expect them to pass away within the next 12 months. So this is something that we don't experience quite as often as some of the other benefits, but it is there. And if you have somebody expected to die in the next 12 months, they potentially are going to qualify for a terminal illness. Now, chronic illness is one of the most popular benefits that we see inside these life insurance contracts, and that's determined, of course, by not being able to perform 2 out of 6 activities of daily living. And these are things like bathing, continence, dressing, toileting, eating, and transferring, okay? So if you cannot perform 2 out of these 6 activities and it's verified by a physician, you're of course then going to be able to qualify in most cases for these chronic illness benefits that we're going to discuss here today. Now, my favorite of all 3 benefits is the critical illness, because I see this being something that's utilized more often than not. You can sit there in front of your clients and you can ask a room full of 1,000 people, how many of you have been around somebody or had a family member exposed to a heart attack, a stroke, or some form of internal cancer? More often than not, everybody's going to say, yes, I have, or yes, I've had that experience. So this benefit's really going to be something that resonates with your consumers as you're sitting down and you're presenting these life insurance contracts. So critical illness, if you have a heart attack, stroke, internal cancers, melanoma, end-stage renal failure, major organ transplants, ALS, or some sort of side effect due to diabetes, you potentially would qualify for that benefit as well, and it's going to accelerate some cash and put it in your hand right away. So these are the definitions of the benefits that I want to cover here as we start talking about these products. So let's get right into it. We looked at the living benefit term space. Now, there's only a handful of contracts in this area. The one that stood out to us, of course, was the one that came from the Aegon companies. And specifically here today, I want to talk about Trans-Family Markets. Strong Ratings, of course, is a carrier. And in my opinion, one of the best term insurance products out there with living benefits. It's called the Trendsetter LB. There's a 10, 15, 20, and 30-year length that's available. They have the terminal, the chronic, and the critical illness benefits. And what I want to point out is that all 3 have the capability of maxing out up to $500,000 of benefits to your clients. And the one that I really want to point out here is the critical illness. Up to 90% of the death benefit can be accelerated. That's again a max of $500,000, and it's only a 30-day waiting period. So if your client's experiencing that critical illness, they could advance themselves some of that death benefit and take care of those expenses that potentially are going to really put a dent in their retirement savings. Let's talk quickly about final expense. Now, there's a lot of final expense contracts out there, and quite often in the final expense marketplace, we find ourselves spreadsheeting. Who's got the cheapest premium? Who's going to be able to provide that coverage for my client in that $25,000 to $40,000 death benefit range? Well, you've heard me talk about this product quite a bit here in the last couple of months, but that's because it literally is the #1 selling final expense in the country, and there's a big reason for that. First and foremost, the Phoenix Life Remembrance Life final expense contract. First of all, it issues up to $100,000 to age 59 for death benefits. So as you can see, even in the older ages up to 50,000, it has some of the most death benefit you can buy on a single contract for a final expense type carrier. But what we like to talk about, and of course what we want to highlight today, are the living benefits. We have critical illness rider available, 50% of the death benefit included in the premium at no extra cost. We also have the terminal illness rider, which is accelerating the death benefit that pays up to 95% if terminal. That's, of course, less than 12 months to live, and that's included at no additional cost. So these benefits are embedded in this contract, and it's not costing your client anything in addition, which means that this product remains to be one of the more competitive when it comes to annual premiums or monthly premiums for final expense contracts. So, again, in summary, why is this the best final expense in the country? Simply because it's one of the only ones you're going to find with living benefits, and because it's so competitively priced and has such a high death benefit, we feel that it's one of the #1 products that you're going to put your hands on when it comes to selling final expense. Now, what I want to do is wrap the show up talking about 2 specific index universal life insurance contracts. And these are great contracts that actually have these living benefits embedded inside of them. And first, I want to talk about Allianz. I mentioned them at the beginning. They had some of those statistics that I talk about. They have a lot of great pieces to put out there to help educate your client about the power of these types of benefits. But what I like about Allianz's Life Pro Plus, that Index UL, it will accelerate on the chronic illness benefit up to $1 million per policy. That's a big number. Make sure you're putting that in front of your clients, especially if you're selling the supplemental income story. This is a great add-on. If you're taking income out of these contracts, sometimes that income is going to then become what you're going to use to pay for these types of services, whether it's at-home care or a nursing home. It's great if you have that coming out of one product, and they're going to, of course, going to be a power player on there. It also maintains a residual death benefit, and I think that's really important. If you're selling living benefit products, whether it's term final expense or a permanent contract like an Index UL, make sure that no matter what, if they accelerate these benefits, that it still has some death benefit that remains in force. Remember, at the end of the day, your client still needs some death benefit to cover those burial expenses or potentially any of those things that they're passing on to their beneficiaries. So we don't want to eat up the entire contract with the benefits. Allianz does a great job making sure that there is always some life insurance in force for those beneficiaries. Last but not least, what I want to talk about is North American. I talked about the Guaranteed Index Universal Life Contract last month in our October update, but I want to bring up something again here. Don't forget, the Guaranteed Index Universal Life Contract includes critical, chronic, and terminal illness. The critical illness benefit, as I mentioned before, how many people do you know that have stroke, heart attack, or cancer? You ask that question, I guarantee you 99% of the time the client's going to say, I know somebody. They're going to have a relationship and understand the need for a benefit like that. When you add it to a Guaranteed Index UL, it's a powerful combination. When you're running quotes and you're looking at Guaranteed Universal Life or anything to age 100, make sure you're also looking at Guaranteed Index ULs. The cash accumulation could be something that makes the client really decide they want to move forward. So if you have any questions about the show today or any of the products that we've covered, make sure you contact us. Our information is scrolling right across the bottom of the screen. You can reach us at the info@thebiz.tv. You can also go to our website, www.thebiz.tv. We'll really appreciate you joining us here today. We hope to see you soon on the next month's update. Take care, and we'll see you next time.